Hello. And welcome to the stream. I finally made an intro card. Look, it's the abundance of summer. Oh, currently my ad things are all out of whack, so let me say hello in a sec. There it is. Hello. I made an intro card with the abundance of summer. I hope you've been enjoying it. I am, of course, still here. Oh, we're looking at the ceiling today. Let's get rid of that. There's the pineapple from said intro card. I was not planning on buying a pineapple. But this one was so perfectly ripe, so perfectly yellow, that I couldn't resist. Most store-bought pineapples are significantly underripe because it makes shipping them easier. This one is that gorgeous golden hue, and if you smell it, oh, it smells like pineapple right on the outside. Welcome in. So I don't know what I'm going to do with that. I don't have plans for it now. I just couldn't resist a perfectly ripe pineapple. For $2.50. Also, so it was cheap. Also, yes, I made a new thing. Look at the thing. Look at the abundance of summer. So that I don't have to constantly fuss with the little sheet. Yeah, I've got a lot of odds and ends today. I've been actually I've had to throw a few things away. I've been struggling to keep up with the vegetables. The sheer abundance. So yeah, since I had a whole lot right now, and I just bought a couple new things today, so I decided I've been meaning to make that screen for a while, and I wanted to just have it be a mess of vegetables. It was taken right. It was taken right there. It was taken right here. Oop! I didn't even adjust the lighting on this camera. Let me get on that real quick. It was taken right here. Obviously, I've moved everything since then, but since I had the vast abundance, things are coming in hot and fast at the old farmers market and grocery stores and everywhere. As well as my friends' gardens, as well as my own garden. Just stuff's coming in. It's the season. 'Tis the season. And among those things, these beasties. I had never seen these before. They didn't even have a label at the farmer's market when I picked them up. I got these at the local farmer's market. If you've read the title, these are in fact snake gourd. They sure look different. I have no idea what to expect of them. Oops, somebody just subscribed because the number went up. But Twitch didn't tell me about it. Thank you, mysterious subscriber. Probably a resub. So these are snake gourd. I actually don't know anything about them at all. I don't know where they're from. I don't know what they taste like. The person at the booth said you can use them like a zucchini. They taste kind of like a cucumber. They're like a little bit spongy. I did a little bit of reading. They're related to loofah. And if you let them mature, they don't get thicker, they get longer. They just get longer and longer and longer and longer, and they get really hard. So these are little baby ones, which is impressive because they're, twice as long as my hand. This one I dropped, and the tip snapped off just by hitting the ground, which means they're kind of brittle. And the other thing that happened is a juice leaked out and congealed into a goo, a thick, slimy goo. which has me thinking that maybe I can use this as a thickener in a stew the way you do okra. But I want to give this stuff a fair shake at all phases. I don't know anything about it. This is a experiment with a vegetable day. We have things to throw at it. I've got a bunch of other ingredients. As I say, I've got thoughts. My thought is a stew. But let's take a piece off. I have not even tasted this stuff. Take off a little coin here. I have not tasted it. I've not done anything with it aside from brought it home and looked at it. So down the hatch. Let's see what it's like. Oh, it's crisp. It's crisp like a cucumber, and it tastes a bit like a cucumber. They're right. It's got a good crispness to it. Ooh, you could put that in a salad. It's not quite the same as cucumber, but it has a similarness to it. It's much solider in the middle than I thought it was as well. Some big old seeds look like they're going to develop in there if this thing matures. I like it. It tastes like... Here, I've got a... I want to cut a cucumber. I don't want to cut a fresh cucumber. It's got a... like a vegetal, but like a bit grassy flavor. It's got a good, strong crisp to it. More crisp than I think a cucumber. And it doesn't have that... I often don't like eating raw cucumber straight because it has this like slightly off back taste that disappears when you put it in stuff. I like cucumber in stuff, but I don't like eating it by itself because of that slightly off sort of aftertaste it gives me. This stuff does not have that. I actually like this better than cucumber. That is interesting. And then it's supposed to be cookable. It is a little bit more... There's more substance to it than cucumber as well. I'm definitely chewing on it longer, and it's a little more solid. Interesting, though. That is not what I was expecting it to be like. I was expecting it to be more like... I don't know, like chewier, firmer than this. Interesting. So I suddenly have to rethink everything because this is not... I've got a bunch of them, so we could try multiple things. I wanted to use this one because the tip broke, and I was afraid of the broken tip letting like the inside dry out. And there was another one where the tip broke. This one. Well, the tip was broken when I got it, and I wanted to do that one as well. Although both of them, I thought it was going to be hollow in the middle, and because they both have little hollow openings. But as soon as I got in the middle of this guy, he's pretty solid, so I don't think that's going to be an issue. I got to read about this thing now. Hold on. Snake gourd. Like loofah, they're eaten as a vegetable when young, which we've got here. As they become older, they get tough and bitter, and they turn red. Well, that's not this one. Apparently, it's good for funguses and sunburns. It's low in all nutrients. Okay. Okay. Um, the stuff that's leaking out of it here, I don't know if you can quite tell, but it's beading on the surface quite quickly. This stuff, the liquid, when it dripped on the countertop here, and I didn't get to it right away, it thickened into a little, like, jelly, all on its own, which has me thinking that you could use this like okra in a stew, like how okra is used in gumbo, jambalaya, one of those, probably both of those, to thicken it. That was my initial idea, but the flavor here is quite different. Let me pop the lighting on that camera as well while I'm thinking about it. So, what are your thoughts? My thoughts are now a little bit in flux. Do I want to do this? Because I could do this now as like a fresh salady thing. I'm gonna take the little tip part off because the tip seems. Take these little tip pieces off of each one of them because they look hard and a little bit dry. I'm impressed with this vegetable. Technically a fruit. I don't want to slice these up right away. So my plan was to try to go for a stew or like a soup, which we can still do, but now I'm curious. I gotta do some Google foo here. Because recipes are all like cooked. And a lot of them sound like they're coming from India or South Asia, which is probably where it's native to. Interesting, interesting. Um, Pudalangi. I don't know where that is from. South India. Okay. Okay. Let's give this a go. I still want to try cooking with it, so let's get cooking with it. And I guess we'll start by prepping other ingredients that I think will go along with. Let's see, I've got a bit of an older bell pepper here that I'm going to use up. We've still got a few of these guys. I guess we'll throw in some of our garlic scapes. They've held up surprisingly well. Chuck in a rib of celery. Rib of celery. So while I'm getting ingredients out, how's it going on your end? How's things? Can you see me? Oh, you can see me. I'm here. Click off of that. Celery, onion. Squeak. Onion. A pot to cook all this stuff in. Is anybody home? Is anybody there? No one says anything. One time, I was rambling away, and nobody could see me. So I'm always a little bit paranoid that nobody can see me if nobody responds when I say hi. Ah, shoot. Okay. The flower tips of these got a little bit old, so we're going to take the little flowers off the ends, discard those. But the stems are perfectly good. We should get out some bowls to hold all of these things I'm about to create. So, I've talked about garlic scapes when I first got them, but these are essentially the green onions of garlic. They're attempted flower stalks from garlic that the farmers cut so that they wouldn't. Hi, Mags. Welcome in. I was just talking about these. These are garlic scapes. So they're flower tops that they're flower spikes from garlic, and if you let the flower mature, it extracts the flavor out of the bulb, and makes it shrink up. So the farmers cut these early in the season when the garlics try to throw them out, and then you use them basically like you would spring onions, but they taste garlicky. And they're called garlic scapes, and I've only ever seen them at farmers markets. I've never seen them at like a regular store. They are not produced deliberately. They're like a side product of trying to raise garlic. And I got these quite a long time ago at this point. I think I picked them up in the end of June. And I picked up a big bunch of them, but they have held up. The cut ends got a little bit dried out, but that's fine. I can cut those off. And the actual flower on the tip has gotten a little bit dried out as well, but that's also easy to just cut off. The part you want is the stem anyways, and the stems on them have remained very good all this time. Our main event is these things. Let me know if you recognize what that is. I sure didn't. I don't know why I'm using the small knife for this. I mean, I kind of know why I'm using the small knife for this because I was using the small knife to cut the gourds there. But I should be using a large knife because it would go through celery much faster. The small knife is slow for big things like this. Celery. Set you aside, grab a large knife, because I'm going to do onion. I need to get my scraps bowl closer, across the kitchen from me. So how's things? What are you doing today? I've had this red onion for a hot minute. I think we're going to not use the whole thing. We're going to save that part for the future. Oop. Will that layer let go? Actually, yes, it will. Good. It's a little bit of a dirty layer in here, but it looks like I'll be able to peel it away without too much trouble. Yeah. Whoa, whoa, whoa. 102 is the coolest day. That's unbearable. I would just leave at that point. I don't know how you can tolerate that. I mean, you're probably not tolerating it. You're probably hiding from it in the air-conditioned goodness. I've just had a very cool day. Yesterday, it didn't even get above 70, and overnight it was below 50. Today, now it's back up to normal summer weather, which for me is low 80s. I believe we're at the very top end of the 70s right now, actually. So it's actually been very pleasant. I'm running the AC right now sort of preemptively. I didn't run it at all yesterday. I barely ran it the day before just to cut the humidity. Oh, that's a spicy onion. Wow. I'm running it a little bit preemptively because I'm cooking, and I know it's going to heat the house up. Let's see what the inside of this pepper looks like. I picked this pepper up, didn't get to it, and it went wrinkly, and I threw it in the fridge to try to stabilize it. And I think it stabilized at sort of generally wrinkly. I've got some fresher peppers. This one was not in my preview image. Oh God, you should see the new. I know some of you were here at the beginning, but have you seen the new pre-show image? Were you here for that? We're really getting into like high season for produce, and I'm loaded down with them. And I was like, this is a good time to take a snap with all my produce for the channel here. The lighting went a little bit weird. It looked even better in person, actually. The lighting went a little bit weird because it's hard to tell because I cast a shadow on a purple thing, but I cast a shadow in the corner on the purple cabbage that's down there. So the purple cabbage kind of looks blackish, but it looked kind of blackish anyways. Oop, there's little seeds in there. Of course, bell pepper seeds aren't hot. They're just hard and kind of bitter. We have an ad coming up in now 3 minutes. It says, giving me warnings even farther ahead than it used to. So what I'm starting with here is the trinity of southern Louisiana cooking. A sweet bell pepper, a onion, and I've gone for a red onion because I've got one, and why not? And celery, which is derived from the mirepoix of France, which had a lot of influence on the cooking of that region, swapping out the carrot for bell pepper because they had more bell peppers. And I like to use the Southern Trinity because bell peppers are so much easier to cut up into an even dice than carrots are. And frankly, I'm not a huge fan of carrots. I never have been. I tolerate them, but I've never been like a, oh yeah, give me those carrots. No, carrots are like in things because they have to be. Okay, so there's those vegetables. We're going to need to sort of gently saute those in our roux. We're going to build a roux out of olive oil, I believe. We're going to go for olive oil roux as opposed to a butter roux. I'm making this up. We don't have a recipe today. We don't have even a. We don't even have a semblance of a recipe today. I don't have any references up either. So we're just having at it. Keep the flour handy just in case. Add comes in a couple of seconds. Enough oil to take up all that flour. I'm actually going to fully mix it around before I put the heat on. Because again, I'm just kind of making this up this time. So there's no heat on this pan. I'm just sort of blending the flour into the oil. And then we will put it on some just shy of medium heat to start developing. While that's going, let's do some garlic. Garlic, ginger. Thinking about my dry spices. Sumac, turmeric. Allspice. Black pepper. Clove. That's white pepper. That's curry powder. That's curry powder. Cinnamon. We'll use the ground stuff. No, we won't use the ground stuff because I've got whole allspice. Use the ground stuff. But we're going to use whole cumin. Curry. There's whole cloves. We can use whole cloves instead of ground cloves. Saffron? Probably not the saffron. Paprika. We can use that. Interesting. I've got a flavor in mind. Oh, we're back from the ad. I've got a flavor in mind I think I'm going to shoot for. I don't know if it's going to work. But while we are starting these things, we're going to want to get our garlic on the go as well. I don't know. At this point, I don't know any cuisine that doesn't utilize. Oops, we're on the this side. I don't know any cuisine that doesn't utilize quite a bit of garlic. It has just been embraced by everyone, everywhere. In every form, which is great. I love garlic. Oop, that one is too flat. Okay. Take the little nubbins off the ends. We're going to do a crush and mince with this one instead of a pulverize with the microplane. Because I think that we want it to be a little bit more intact when we get to it in the finished dish. Oops. So crush the little one as well. Or we should crush them individually. So crushing smashes up the cells and releases those aromatics that we all love our garlic for. Mincing it up pretty much just makes it into small pieces so it gets more evenly distributed into what we're cooking. And as always, we're doing this well enough in advance of everything else we're doing that it has a chance to develop its flavors before it goes on the heat. Because heat stops garlic from developing its flavors. Give it at least 10 minutes before you put it on the heat after you've crushed it or minced it or put it through a press. I decided I want some ginger, and we're going to treat the ginger in a similar manner. The mincing part, not the crushing part. Oop. Ginger does not care about you waiting for it to develop its flavor. Just have at it. But as long as we're doing things in advance, let's do our ginger in advance. And you always want to, if you're mincing ginger, you want to make sure to cut it crosswise to the because the ginger root has fibers in it to give it some structure, and they run lengthwise. We run into that when we grate our ginger a lot, that the fibers kind of hang out on the grater. They don't really hold up to cooking, so it's not really a huge problem. But if you're cooking your ginger very lightly, it's better to cut across those fibers just to ensure that they aren't little pieces of floss in your finished thing. And I'm just going to throw that in with the with the garlic. Okay, we have our Trinity, we have our spices, or our, not spices, those things. How's our roux looking? Foamy. Now it shouldn't brown the way butter does, but it should still thicken up a bit. And then the flour should start to brown. So we should, in theory, have a good sort of roux. We're looking for some brown. We're looking for it to really develop some color before we throw anything else in there. Once you start throwing other things in with your roux, it will not be hot enough to really develop more. So you really need to cook it up by, if you want a dark roux. We're not going to go for that really dark black roux like we did, not black roux, sorry, black roux is burnt. We're not going to go for that really, really dark brown roux that we did when we made the proper gumbo from scratch. It was extremely tasty, but it was also very fussy, and I'm using a different container this time. So we're going to let that keep foaming up and cooking for a little bit more before I add anything else to it. I picked up an andouille sausage with the idea of throwing it in here, but honestly, it doesn't need to be. I feel like we could make this work with just vegetables. Make a vegetable stew. Because the snake gourds are going to be such an interesting element to it. I don't necessarily want to hide them. Interesting. Interesting. We're going to throw some spices at this too. I'm going to get out some of my whole spices. We've got some cloves. We've got quite a lot of cumin. We're going to use the pre-ground allspice because I need to use it up at some point. Weird veggies. Here we are. These guys. This is a snake gourd. Welcome in, Jen. This is a snake gourd, and I tasted this one, cut a little piece off the end, and it's crisp. I don't know if you can hear it. It's crisp. And it tastes like a lot like a cucumber. I think it actually tastes like a better cucumber. And supposedly, you can cook with them as well. It has a very vegetable-y flavor, if that makes sense. And the reason what I'm doing with it now is one of them broke and leaked its juices on the table a little bit, and those juices solidified well, gelled into a surprisingly thick little glob. And they did so very quickly as well. So that may have me thinking, oh, it behaves like okra. Like you could use it like okra in a gumbo. So I'm making a stew or a soup or something. We're cooking it. And seeing how well it actually does that. And I'm getting all my other stuff together while our roux, because we're starting with a roux over there, comes together. Over here, you can see it's already turned quite a bit of a different brown. And again, there's no butter in this. We're using an olive oil base, which means that all of this color is coming from the flour, which is good. I probably don't want to go that much darker than this before I start throwing stuff in there, so we shan't. You're going to sizzle right away. Heat down a little bit because we don't want to brown these really strongly. We want them to start to soften. So I'm kind of making this up. I have some ideas. We're in a Cajun realm, but I think I'm picking out African spices for it. So, I'm just kind of making it up. As you do. And let's throw our garlic scapes in there too. They're a little bit tougher. They need to get working. We're not going to throw the snake gourd in until a little bit later because it's more delicate than I thought it was. So it doesn't need to be cooked down with these other vegetables. Allspice is in there. Fruit flies have found my delicious vegetables. I've got some sumac. I'm going to throw some sumac in. That's a very interesting flavor. I always thought sumac was poisonous on account of there being an American plant called poison sumac. Turns out that is completely unrelated to this sumac. Do I have any cardamom? We're going to find out if I have any cardamom. I do. We're throwing some cardamom in this. Nope. So I'm just kind of grabbing spices and having a good, strong, think about them. Let's see. The vegetables here. They need some salt. There's no salt in this so far, so I'm comfortable adding salt to it. But now that we've added salt, we have to be cognizant of adding salt later on. You are making steelhead trout, garlic, dill, rosemary, potatoes, olive oil, a bit of butter. Not quite done. And you've snuck a taste. Well, that sounds good to me. Is it a whole steelhead? Or is it a fillet? I don't think I've seen... I think I've seen whole steelhead once at a store. They get pretty big. Usually I see rainbow as whole fish. But it sounds good to me. I've got a couple of potatoes. I might actually end up throwing potato in here as well. Little fillet. 30% off, yes! I would love to see. I'd love to see pictures. Please, please, never hesitate to post your own delicious foods in the Discord. Let's grind up these whole spices. We've got black pepper, cumin, and there's a couple of cloves in here. That we're gonna crush up. We're using pre-ground for some of them because I'm trying to use up some of my pre-ground spices. But hey, 30% off. Can't argue with that. I just got, I put it in the freezer. I put it in the freezer because I'm not sure what I want to do with it. I just found it today. Oxtail. Half off oxtail. That stuff has some pretty serious uses, but you got to plan for it. I did not want to lose out on it on the oxtail, but we didn't have a plan. I don't have a plan for it today, and it was kind of, I had other things in mind. I wanted to use these snake gourds, so I didn't go. We're not going for it, but I've got it. I didn't want to miss. I didn't want to miss, especially beef these days. When I see them like affordable, I gotta go for them. So I say affordable. It was still a little bit pricey. Let's see how many pounds it was. It was 2.5 pounds of oxtail for $16. So not the cheapest in the world, but a lot less than they have been selling it for. So I'll take it when I can. We'll do something fun with that. It was already frozen, and I kept it frozen, so we have it stored for later. But yeah, that was a fun find. I've also got, if you can see in the background, I bought this pineapple, and I don't know what to do with it either. I'm adding my spices to the mix. That's what Ever said. Pineapple upside down cake. And maybe the thing is, this is a super ripe pineapple. I bought it because it was pineapples at the grocery store. I looked at them. I frequently will glance at the pineapples at the grocery store, and usually they're just normal pineapples. This time, perched atop the pile of normal pineapples was this guy. He is just a normal pineapple, but look at how yellow he is. Let me stir these spices in, and I'll hold it up for the camera. How yellow it is. It's because it is a very ripe pineapple. I've had super ripe pineapples before. We don't get them very often around here because I live in the frozen north, so we get ones that ship well, not ones that are like the best. So he's super yellow, which is the sign of them being very, very ripe. And he smells like pineapple on the outside of the rind, like real strong. Mmm. So, something for that. Yeah, it's a real nice pineapple. When you spot one that's all golden yellow on the outside, those are the good ones. Those are the winners. As for this stuff, we've got our spices, our garlic, and our ginger in here, along with our vegetables. We're softening all this up. Do I add meat to this? Do I add meat to this? Is the question that's going to going to come up. I'm going to serve it with couscous. We've decided I'm going to serve it with couscous. We're going for kind of an African flavor, I think, here. I'm going to have to taste this a little bit, too, just to see where we are. There's nothing spicy in it, either. We might end up throwing some spices in there. Well, there's already a ton of spices in there. Some of them hot in there. So yes, the pineapple, another impulse. It was also it was $2.50 for this pineapple. It was amazing. It was like, that's worth more than that. That's a good pineapple. So we have time to think about the pineapple because it's not like it's going to go off immediately. I promised you guys a makeup for completely no showing Saturday. We could do something with a pineapple later this week. Oh, I know what I forgot. And it's fine. I can forget. I cut these. I cut this for the photo op. But also, I wanted to use it because I haven't been using this plant and it has been growing like mad. It's not too late to throw this in the mix there. This is my Cuban oregano, which is, again, not from Cuba and not oregano. But it is an herb that I like the taste of and want to throw into things. So we're gonna move the stone out of the way so I don't destroy my knife by hitting it. Oh, by the way, I don't know if any of you have done this, but I'm going to tell you off right now if you have, because I've seen such a thing recently. If you've got a stone cutting board, just don't. Just absolutely do not. Stone destroys knives. This stuff, putting this stuff in, it tastes like oregano. We're going to have to add water to this soon so we don't burn stuff on the bottom. I'm not planning on using a stock on top of this. I'm just planning on adding water to sort of make it into a soupy, stewy thing. Again, we're just making stuff up today, guys. But I know none of you would ever use a stone cutting board. Maybe I'm mistaken. Maybe those weren't cutting boards. Maybe they were intended to be charcuterie boards. But it sure looked like cutting boards. Do we put meat in this thing? That is a question. A question that needs answering. I'm going to start boiling some water for the couscous. A little bit of extra. I'm going to start some water for the couscous in the back. That's not the right burner. That one is. Do I add meat to this? It would make it much more robust if I did. We could also go. Ooh, actually, idea. What's the expiration on this thing? Does it have an expiration? It doesn't. Okay. It smells okay. So I'm going to say it's good, but we're going to use it up because it might expire at some point in the future. We've got the kefir that we used for the borscht. Also got some basil here. I'm going to throw that in as well because I cut that for the photo op also. And at this point, I think I'm just throwing stuff at the wall. Basil flowers. I got to use more basil. I got to use so much more basil, guys. Geez, the basil out there is going nuts. I guess we're making a curry. I guess we're kind of making a curry, ultimately. Let's get that basil in there because I was going to have to use it regardless. Stir it around. Again, we're using basil flowers because my basil is flowering so much that I have to cut flowers off of it whenever I cut the basil. We're going to just go ahead, and the water is boiling. We have an ad coming up in a couple of seconds here. We're just going to take our couscous into our water. Swirl it around, take it off the heat, put the lid on it, and when we next look in that pot, there will be finished couscous, ready to eat. And that's why I love couscous. It is so easy to cook. I am not going to add meat to this. Instead, we are going to add cheese to this. We are going to introduce yet another cuisine because I am just throwing stuff at the wall. I want a protein in here of some sort. And I've just now abruptly decided, oh, the ad is in progress. I've just now abruptly decided that it's going to be cheese. So we're going to throw some paneer in there, get the heat on this a little bit up so that I can toast it, and then add our water. Cut it lengthwise first. Okay, cheese. I will save the andouille sausage for a future event. Perhaps pineapple and sausage. Okay. Oop, we lost some on the side. Oh, it definitely looks like curry. It's leaving yellow streaks on everything. But it needs some water now. Well, not now. We're going to let it go just a little bit before I add the water. I will say I want to revisit making paneer at some point, but I'm super glad that I have a source where I can purchase it now locally, because I love the stuff and it's fussy to make. Okay. Plain old water should now turn this into like a soupy stewy thing. And it is at this stage that I want to add our snake gourd. Steelhead is immaculate. I look forward to taking a look at it in the Discord. If any of you are not in my Discord and would like to be, we have very few channels. It's pretty much just me posting food and you posting food. But this is a good time to share the link. Please, if you would like, join my Discord. Oop. If we actually get a community, maybe I'll should have cut this in half first. Maybe I'll be more active in it. At the moment, it's a place to get notified when I go live and see pictures of my food, Jen's food, and Taizan's food. And your food if you want to post food. Okay, one entire snake gourd. And the other one that had the broken tip. We're going to use 2 snake gourds here. I'm going to be sane about this and cut the other one lengthwise. Let's get you over here. This is what they look like on the inside. They are, you know, kind of spongy actually. It looks like almost cottony, and that makes sense. They're related to loofah, so I imagine that sort of spongy, cottony interior will expand as they mature and then harden up and form that sort of hard, foamy interior that we use loofahs from. Apparently you can eat loofah as well, if you pick it when it's very young and has not hardened up yet. So the goal here is for this, now, with the snake gourd in it, to become thick. Stuff. Which we will find out if that actually works. I'm also hoping that it will lend a bit of a lighter, more vegetal flavor to this, and maybe even a little bit of texture, because it is an interesting texture and it is sort of a brighter flavor. I'm surprised that Google's told me that snake gourd is an unpopular vegetable. Because, boy, if this stuff grew commonly where I am, I would use it. You'd try loofah? I would also try loofah if I could find a young loofah. I think people mostly grow loofah for making into like the spongy loofahs, the hard loofahs. So we're going to find out what happens when you simmer this stuff, if it thickens up. We also need to taste this and see if I think it needs anything else, while we still have a chance to add things to it. Oh, that's bizarre. That is not what I was expecting it to taste like at all. It needs a bit of salt. It needs some pepper. It's got a bite to it. It's got a little bit of a bite to it, but not a real strong bite. And I'm going to let's be gentle with this stuff. I'm going to add a little blob of harissa to this thing. Since we're in an African mood, since we're in a little bit of an African mood, we're kind of like in an African-Indian crossover mood. This is actually a Calabria chili kind, so this is more like an Italian. It's nothing is what it seems around these parts. Everything is weird half-truths and fusions. Let's give it a little bit of a different spice as well. This one is sambal olek, so we've got an Indian? Because I'm not sure exactly where sambal olek hails from. I'm not sure where any of this hails from. We've got elements here from a lot of this seems to come from southern Asia. But some of it clearly comes from northern Africa as well. The flavor I tasted when I gave it a little tester there, sambal olek is Indonesian. Interesting. Well, I've got some of that, so we're throwing that in. That's in our. That's like the Southern Asia flavor profiles. Although it probably borrows from some of those more southerly island flavors as well. Interesting. I'm hesitant to throw a lot more strong flavors at it. It's actually surprisingly not very strongly flavored. But it did need some bite to it, some piquancy. So that's why we added 2 pepper sauces. But it's actually, I almost want to add a couple more of our warm spices to it. Let's throw in a little bit more sumac. I don't think we need the turmeric, but let's add a little bit more smoked paprika, but not too much. Again, I liked it. It's just it needed to be pushed up a little bit. And I wonder if part of that is because we are using half dried powdered spices and half whole fresh spices, and they're kind of not balancing out well. So we're adding a little bit more of our dry spices. Did I remember to put the cinnamon in here? That might be what's missing as well. A little dash of cinnamon, curry, cloves, cardamom. That'd be okay. Just little dashes, all these guys. Kind of throw stuff at it. Let's stir that in, see what it tastes like. We're not forming a very thick stew here. So this stuff doesn't have the thickening power of okra. But I think we're a little bit thicker than if I had added just the water to the roux. So I like the colors. It's got... I kind of want to stop while the snake gourds are still bright green. Oop, a fly has invited itself to our party. It's also fly season. I've been fighting with them for a while. They love all the fresh vegetables I bring into the house. Let's find my spoon. Lick off the sambal olek. Give this another taster and see what we think. Wow. It tastes like it's got meat in it. It really does. It tastes like I threw a bone or something in there and let it cook out. But I have not. There is not a speck of meat in this thing. And it has my mouth a little bit confused. It definitely has a sharp bite to it. Surprisingly mild flavor. Adding our extra spices there, or our 2 extra spices there, have definitely made it peppery. It's got a piquancy, a bite on the back of the throat. But not a really strong bite up front. It's not burning my tongue. It's more down the back of my throat when I swallow it. How did I develop that sort of dark... Maybe it's the roux? I don't know. It's got this sort of dark, meaty note to it that is at odds with the fact that this is a completely vegetarian dish. Fascinating. And it's not the snake gourd, because the snake gourd tastes like cucumbers, as we established. I also don't think I want to boil this anymore. I think our vegetables are mostly softened up. It looks like I'm going to end up with a little bit of a shorter day today, because this didn't take as long to cook as it could have, which, honestly, that's what happens when I do complete no recipe off the cuff cooking. It either goes real long or it goes real short. What does it need anything? Does it need anything? Well, we have a chance. I don't really want to add any sweetness to it. It's got plenty of sweetness from some of the vegetables that went in there. Tell you what it's going to get. I'll tell you what it's going to get. It's going to get a scallion, which I'm going to have to go cut. Welcome to the garden. You guys can't see it. I should get a garden cam so you can watch my plants grow. You know, exciting watching the plants grow. Okay. It's going to get a scallion, but for serving, not for mixing in there. I kind of want to give it like a dollop of yogurt. I almost threw the kefir in there, but now I kind of want to give it like a dollop of yogurt on the side of the plate for like serving. I should select a plate as well. The heat is off. Let's take a peek at our couscous. It should be coused. Looks pretty coused to me. Let's see. See, now I've got a conflict because this stuff is kind of brown. Oh, and it's thickening up. It's getting pretty thick now. It probably just needed to cool off a little bit. While it was actively boiling, it might not have been able to thicken, but now that it's cooled off or stopped, it's starting to. So this stuff would want to be on the white plate. Couscous is white. I think we're going to err on the side of the white plate because white plates are usually a good bet. So yeah, dollop of yogurt. I like the idea of a dollop of yogurt for this. Let's coos our plate. With some coos. That should be enough for plating. We're going to make a little divot in the middle so that it doesn't all volcano off the side. Plain couscous. They're so tasty. I love couscous. And the stuff. It's surprisingly colorful. It's brown, but like the reds and the greens are still clearly visible. The gravy here has definitely thickened up quite a lot since I stopped actively boiling it. So I think that actually has worked. Probably not quite as strongly as it does for okra, but it has worked. I love that the snake gourd is still visible, and even the stripes. Like it's barely lost its color from when it was ripe, which is fun. A lot of greens just lose their green as soon as you not as soon as you cook them, but when you boil them. I'm thinking of green beans and broccoli and things like that. They turn this really muddy green when you cook them hard. Some fresh scallion on the top. Hang on to the remaining of the fresh scallion. And then, yes, I have here some yogurt. And I think a dollop of yogurt sort of in the corner would be perfect for this plate. Get this guy open. Brand fresh new yogurt. Unflavored. Didn't buy it for this, but you know. Oop. A little bit of skin on the top, but that's fine. This is not a Greek yogurt. This is actually a whole milk yogurt. A big dollop of yogurt. Mmm, tangy. And that's what I'm going to do. That's what I'm going to do. Tell you what I'm going to do. For decorative reasons, a drizzle, a tiny drizzle, which actually disappears completely into the white, but it'll show up on my camera, of honey over the yogurt, because there's no sweetness in here aside from what was naturally in the onion mostly. And I guess that's the thing that I've made, and I don't know what to call it. The dollop of yogurt might be a little bit too big, but I don't know what to call this. Think about names while I run off to take photos. I'm actually going to run our last ad early so that it will be done by the time I come back for full tasting. And after that, I think we're going to probably wrap up a little bit early today, because this only took this amount of time. We've got leftovers for it too. I will wait for the last 30 seconds on the ad. I took fast photos today. I just licked off the spatula. So it's not going to be a huge shock when I taste it, because I've been tasting little bits and pieces along the way. But and we are back. Okay, let's give this guy a taste. Yeah, I don't know about a name. It's a stew. It's probably a curry. Ultimately, it's probably a curry. Make sure to get a piece of that snake gourd in our first bite. It's hot. Okay, first things first. It's hot. Oh, I got turmeric stain on my countertop. It's it's so interesting. It's so different. The flavors have definitely melded together. It's not like hitting me with a bunch of different things. It's hitting me with one big flavor combo. It's got a sort of rich and warm flavor to it. The snake gourd actually still has a bit of its crisp to it. It still has a bit of its texture, which is impressive because we boiled it. That makes that stuff even more interesting, that it's robust enough to hold up. The insides of it just disintegrated, but the rind, the outer part, still has its crisp, and it gives it a wonderful texture that nothing else in here has, because everything's been boiled and it kind of turns to soft. having a hard time putting words on it. So it's like a curry, but it has a dark, almost meatiness to it, which we did not add. I'll remind you, there's no meat in this. The only animal products in this are the paneer cheese and some yogurt on the side, which I haven't even added to it yet. It has a heavy, it has an almost heavy flavor to it. It tastes, it reminds me of like a rich stew. Well, not a rich stew. It doesn't have that unctuous richness of a meat-based thing. It still has sort of a lightness in your mouth, a lighter, I don't know, lightness to it. But the flavor that goes with that lightness is what's confusing me, because it's a more robust flavor. If anyone ever tells you you can't make flavors like this without meat, which people keep doing, the anti-vegan movement is going nuts. You could have done this without the cheese, and you'd still have this flavor. That cheese didn't dissolve into the broth. The cheese is actually really nice in it as well, because it's very softened from being boiled. Let's try a piece of it with the yogurt. Mmm. The yogurt was really well with it, but I'd much rather have it like this on the side than mixed in. It gives a cooling tang to it, which is double good because this is a little bit oily. Despite, again, not having any meat in it, it is a little bit fatty, so it's got a little bit of an oily mouthfeel to it, and the tang from the yogurt helps balance that out. It is definitely got some heat to it from the harissa and the sambal oleg that we threw in there, but not a ton. The yogurt also helps temper that. I mean, I say not a ton. For my palate, it's a good level for something that I ordered and said spicy. So I'm sure that for others it would be too spicy. Again, I don't know that the flavor is dependent on either of those things. Maybe those have more flavor in them than some other things, but having the yogurt there definitely helps. I'm glad I went with more of the sauces instead of just crushing up some fresh chilies in here. I think if you just threw a bunch of dried chilies in here, because there's no meat, there's not as much loose fat to balance out the spices, although that's not really what it does, but I feel like it does. All right, I hope I've been able to sort of describe this. It's not my favorite thing I've ever made. I'm not going to say it's super good. It is very pretty. It's got a very good plate look to it, and I suppose that's the curse of making fusion food. I can't put my finger on where this is from, because it's from really nowhere. It's from India and Indonesia and Morocco and, Louisiana. So it's really a blending. It's really a blending. But these flavors work. They work. They're not. I don't think I've broken new ground and created a new cuisine, but these flavors do definitely work. I think we probably landed somewhere between a gumbo and a curry. And I think the flavor also is somewhere between a gumbo and a curry. If that makes any sense. I like it. I would never be able to make this again. I would never be able to make this like this again. Because I threw stuff at it, just kind of threw stuff at it. But I've got a recording, so I can at least figure out what I did and make facsimiles. These things, the snake gourds, very impressed. Very impressed with these. I will keep my eyes out for these in the future. I was a little dubious when yeah. Well, the one I got to write down is the blueberry butterflies from last week. Those things were amazing. I am very impressed with the snake gourds. I will keep an eye out for these in the future. I've never seen them at a grocery store. I've only seen them at the farmer's market and only one booth. They're clearly not a popular thing, but darn, if you ever see these things, give them a try. They can be cooked into a stew. They can be eaten raw like a cucumber. They probably have a bunch of other uses because they're a combination of sturdy but tender but crisp, and they have a very gentle vegetal flavor, so they're like not fighting with whatever you put them with. So if you ever see these things, give them a go. I heartily recommend this as a try it out vegetable. I guess that's the show. I guess that's our show today. We're going to end a little early because I was winging it. Adding the yogurt was a great idea. You'll probably see what I do with the pineapple. I'm likely to do that here later in the week. We got to think about it. Because I promised to make up for missing Saturday, so we'll probably shoot for another Thursday this week. I got to think about this pineapple because a good fresh pineapple, a really ripe pineapple, is head and shoulders better than one of those green ones. Well, wowee. I kind of wish I had made more of this so I could have leftovers now. It seems like the kind of thing that will be better the day after, like like a lot of curries and stews. So let's see. We will see. But yeah, I'm going to wrap us up here because I've run out of things to cook. And if I start a new thing now, it's going to be a whole from scratch project. And I want to get to eat this thing while it is still nice and hot. So let's see who is on. We can see Alana again. I rated Alana last... Thursday when I was on for that weird for my last time I did an off schedule Thursday show. We could go see Ever, who's still playing Skyrim. I am probably going to go see Barry after this, but his channel's so much bigger that rating is into him is worth the trouble. I touched my eye and I've got a little bit of spices on my finger, so I guess I'm going to squint away one of my eyes for the remainder of the show here. What do you think? I don't think I've rated Ever in a while, so let's go see him. He's been playing Skyrim for the first time ever, which is amazing that he's managed to avoid Skyrim, but hey, what do you do? I was asking him about snake gourds earlier, and he had no idea, so we'll tell him about the snake gourds when we get there. Otherwise, yeah, stay tuned. I'm probably going to shoot for a Thursday if I can come up with an idea. We're going to try to use up that pineapple. And I've got a lot of other odds and ends. If you could see from the pre-show panel, I've got a lot of other odds and ends, vegetables-wise, that we should be utilizing. So I probably could cook every day this week and not run out of vegetables. Yeah, so that's the plan at the moment. That's the plan at the moment. Thanks for sticking with me. Thanks for hanging out. Always glad to see you. I will check out Jen's food in the Discord right after this. And stay tuned for my own photos of this, the higher quality version, shortly thereafter. See you next time.